All right, let's learn how to differentiate ventricular fib from torsades. First of all, if your patient's unstable, it doesn't matter what the rhythm is. We're going to unsynchronize cardiovert. Yes, defibrillate this patient, even if that patient has a pulse. If there's no pulse, well, it's pretty simple. We would defibrillate anyway, regardless of whether we thought it was torsades or we thought it was VFib. But if they have a pulse, it's not VFib, first of all, so it must be torsade. But if they're unstable, then they're going to be unsynchronized cardiovert at 120 joules. So that seems to be the first most important point. If you're looking at a rhythm and you're feeling for a pulse and there is no pulse, it doesn't matter what you think the rhythm is. They're going to be defibrillated. And then again, you might defibrillate someone with a pulse if they have torsades, but they are unstable, and they're likely to be. So let's remind you about morphology versus regularity, two totally different things. There's monomorphic, there's polymorphic. Those are things that are changing in shape. Has nothing to do with whether it's regular or irregular, although it can be confusing when you're new to it or you haven't thought this through. Regular and irregular, that's a changing rate, whereas polymorphic versus monomorphic, that's a changing shape. Here's an example of monomorphic VTAC. It's the same shape, and it's regular because VTAC has to be regular. If you're trying to determine if a rhythm is a VTAC and it's not regular, well, it's not a VTAC. So this is regular and monomorphic VTAC. Here is polymorphic VTAC. It is regular. It's absolutely regular across there, but there are several different, at least three that I can pick out, different morphologies. So it is regular, it is polymorphic, but it is not the specific torsade to point pattern. So torsade is a subset of polymorphic VTACs. All torsades are polymorphic VTAC, but not all polymorphic VTACs have the torsade pattern. Here's the torsade pattern. It is regular. You have to look closely. You have to map it out perhaps, but it is regular. It has a particular pattern of increasing amplitude and then decreasing amplitude and then increasing amplitude and then decreasing amplitude. And that's what torsade to point actually means. It means twisting of the point, so basically twisting of the axis. If you were able to watch a 12 lead, all 12 leads at the same time, you would see the same complex shape and amplitude move from lead to lead to lead. The problem is if you're just looking at one lead, then you don't appreciate the fact that it is the same rhythm, it's just changing in its axis. In essence, your view is changing. So this is a regular polymorphic VTAC with a torsade pattern. Again, torsade is regular, but it is a polymorphic VTAC in a specific pattern where the amplitude of the QRSs change. Typically from low mag levels, you'll may have an alert to this if you will detect that prolonged QTC. One of the main reasons that we include QTC in the M measurements of RPM ABC when we analyze rhythms, we're looking for that prolonged QTC. Typically, we say if it's over 450, it's long, but we're considerably worried when it's over 500 and over 550. We're really looking for the magnesium and getting ready to go into torsades. Torsades is an unstable rhythm. It degrades quickly into VFib, so the chances of you seeing a patient who has a pulse who is stable are pretty low, and then perhaps you won't even have a chance to differentiate the rhythm or decide on your treatment before they degrade into VFib, at which case they don't have a pulse, and now it's very simple, just like we said at the start of this thing. For comparison's sake, here's VFib. And when you first learn about torsades, you start thinking everything that's squiggly is torsades, and so that's not the case. There's no pattern here. Yes, there's multiple different morphologies, but it's absolutely irregular, and it is electrical chaos. Here they are side by side, torsade on the top, VFib down below it. And again, if you look at it this way, it looks pretty clear. But when you're just seeing one rhythm on the screen under pressure, we can see how you would get a little bit confused possibly, and that's why we're doing this little learning lesson is let's make sure that we know what we're seeing and that we are differentiating these appropriately. Again, if it's got no pulse, it doesn't matter. Don't spend any time trying to figure it out. Just defibrillate it. But if it does have a pulse, it can't be VFib, and so it's got to be a polymorphic VTAC. Is it a polymorphic VTAC that has the Torsades pattern? That's what you're trying to figure out. So hope this little quick lesson helps.